What's your current English level? Today, you'll find out. You're going to answer different questions and complete different exercises to evaluate all areas of your English. At the end, you'll know your English level. Welcome back to JForrest English. Of course, I'm Jennifer. Now let's get started. First, let's test your grammar level, and this test will progress from A1 to C2. Question 1, she to the store yesterday. Now, I'll only give you 3 seconds to answer, so if you need more time, hit pause, and when you're ready to see the answer, hit play. She went to the store yesterday. Yesterday is a key word for the past simple, and went is the past simple of the verb to go. Question 2, we, students. We are students. For this, you need to know the verb conjugations for the verb to be in the present simple. I am, you are, he, she, it is, and we and they are. Question 3, which word means the opposite of happy? Sad. You knew that one, right? Question 4, which sentence is correct? He doesn't like coffee. Here, you need to know the sentence structure for negative sentences in the present simple. The sentence structure is subject, and then you need do or does as your auxiliary verb, not, and the base verb. The subjects I, you, we, and they use do not. As a contraction, it's don't. And the subjects he, she, it uses does not, and the contraction is doesn't. So did you pass the A1 level? Share your score in the comments and let's continue with A2. She usually the bus to work. Takes. Usually is a key word for the present simple, and with the subjects he, she, it, you need to add an S or ES to your base verb to form the present simple. Question 2, what is the past simple of the verb to eat? Ate, ate. So notice that to eat is an irregular verb. Question 3, that book is mine. That book is mine. Mine is the possessive to show ownership for the subject I. I possess that book is mine. Question 4, this movie is, then that one. More interesting. There are 2 structures for forming comparatives. For a 1-syllable word, you have the word plus ER, smart, smarter. But for longer words, 3-syllable words, you have more and the word, more interesting. Did you pass the A2 level? Share your score and let's continue on with the B1 level. Question 1, which sentence is in the present perfect verb tense? I have gone to the market. For the present perfect, we need the subject, have or has, and the past participle. Our verb here is to go, and the conjugations are go, went in the past simple, and gone in the participle. Question 2, what does the expression break the ice mean? It means to start a conversation in a social setting. Remember that expressions, idioms, phrasal verbs, they don't have literal meaning, so you have to memorize what they mean. For example, let's play a game to break the ice. Question 3, she has a for learning languages. She has a talent for learning languages. This option is correct because it's the only definition that makes sense, and also the sentence structure, you have a talent for something. So that sentence structure is correct with talent. Question 4, Peter, that movie 3 times so far. Has seen. So far means it's an unfinished time reference, and we use the present perfect has seen with unfinished time references. So did you pass the B1 level? Share your score and let's continue on to B2. Question 1, The Cake by Mary was baked. This is the passive voice, and was baked is the past tense of to be baked. Question 2, which word is a synonym for confidential? Secret. You could say that document is confidential, which means it's secret. It's not public, it's not open. And revealing, that means you share more information than expected. But since it's confidential, secret, we don't know if the document is revealing. Question 3, I can't put with his behavior anymore. Put up with. This is a phrasal verb. To put up with something or someone is when you tolerate, so accept, negative behavior. And this is the only option that fits the context and the sentence structure. Question 4, if it, tomorrow, we won't go to the beach. Rains. This is the conditional. You need if plus present simple, and your next clause is in the future simple. So did you make it to B2? Share your score and let's move on to the advanced level, C1. Question 1, identify the correct reported speech. She said, I will come later. She said that she would come later. For reported speech, indirect speech, will becomes would. Question 2, we have the budget, we'll pay for your training. Therefore. Therefore is a transition word. It's used to show cause, we have the budget, and effect. The effect is, we'll pay for your training. Question 3, what does the idiom to hit the nail on the head mean? This means to describe something perfectly. And if you watched my lesson last week on idioms, you would know this because I taught it. For example, you hit the nail on the head with your analysis. Your analysis described the situation perfectly. Question 4, you'll regret the conference. Missing. Regret is a gerund verb, so you need the verb plus your gerund. Regret, missing, verb plus ing. So did you pass the C1 level? Share your score and let's continue to the most advanced C2 level. Question 1, her speech had a profound on the audience. Effect. Effect is a verb. Effect is a noun. You could use the verb, but you would have to change the sentence to her speech affected the audience. Question 2, which course would you recommend to me? Don't forget that too, because you recommend something, the course, to someone. Now you can also simply recommend something. Which course would you recommend? Which course would you recommend to me? Both of those are correct. Question 3, if I would do the same. If I were you, I were you, because this is the present conditional, which is used for hypotheticals. And we use were for all subjects in the conditional. And finally, question 4, Jane, Tom can come to the party. Neither Jane nor Tom can come to the party. And this means they aren't coming to the party. So we use neither nor for negative. You could say either Jane or Tom can come to the party. This means one person is coming to the party. You could also say both Jane and Tom are coming to the party. And this means that 2 people are coming to the party. Are you enjoying this lesson? If you are, then I want to tell you about the Finally Fluent Academy. This is my premium training program where we study native English speakers from TV, movies, YouTube, and the news so you can improve your listening skills of fast English, expand your vocabulary with natural expressions, and learn advanced grammar easily. Plus, you'll have me as your personal coach. You can look in the description for the link to learn more, or you can go to my website and click on Finally Fluent Academy. Now let's continue with our lesson. Now let's test your listening skills. You'll hear a sentence 3 times and you need to write down what you hear. They've been bickering all day. They've been bickering all day. They've been bickering all day. Did you get this one? I said they've been bickering all day. Let's talk about the pronunciation changes. Notice I have they've. This is a contraction. They have, they've. Native speakers use contractions in spoken English almost 100% of the time, so you need to be very comfortable hearing the contraction because it affects the grammar of the sentence. You need to have they have been bickering because that shows the grammar, and the grammar is the present perfect continuous. So if you didn't have that, it would be grammatically incorrect. They've been bickering all day. Now notice I said been, a very unstressed been. This is how we pronounce the past participle of the verb be, been, in American English. I don't speak British English, but I believe in British English they pronounce it more stressed, been, but in American English we don't do that. We just say been. They've been bickering all day. Now, to understand fast English outside of the classroom, you need to hear the individual words, but you also have to understand the meaning of the words. So let's talk about the verb to bicker. This is when you argue about things that are not important. The concept of bickering is extremely common and everyone does it, and we usually do it with people we spend the most time with, our family, our spouses, husbands and wives, boyfriends, girlfriends, our close friends, our coworkers that we spend a lot of time with. Anytime you spend a lot of time with someone, it's common that you'll bicker. But it's different from fighting, because when you're fighting with someone, usually there's a strong emotion involved, but when you bicker, you don't really have that emotion. It's less serious because the things you're arguing about, fighting about, are not actually important. Like I said, this can be very common in the workplace when you spend a lot of time with your coworkers. So maybe you're in a meeting and you've been discussing an issue for hours with your coworkers. But people start bickering. They start arguing about things that aren't important. You could say, we didn't get anything done today because we bickered all meeting.
We argue, we bicker. Yeah, we bicker.
Either. Yeah, well, we were bickering because they were bickering.
Mark,
kids are bickering.
Let's try this again with another listening exercise. I'll say it 3 times. That street's pretty sketchy. That street's pretty sketchy. That street's pretty sketchy. How'd you do with this one? I said, that street's pretty sketchy. Did you hear that streets, the S? Well, that is the verb to be in a contraction form. The street is the streets. The street's pretty sketchy. Again, it's extremely important that you hear these contractions for grammar because we need the verb to be grammatically. The sentence would sound very awkward if you didn't have it because it would be grammatically incorrect. That street's pretty sketchy. Sketchy, 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 sketchy. Let's talk about to be sketchy. That street is our verb to be sketchy. This is used to say that something is not completely safe. So by saying that street's pretty sketchy, I am saying that street doesn't look completely safe. I don't think that street is safe. So I'm saying we shouldn't go down that street. We should avoid that street. Now, why would I say this street is sketchy? This is an adjective that native speakers use a lot. If I say a street's sketchy, it's most likely because it's dark or lacks lighting. There aren't a lot of people around. There's broken glass or broken windows. Or there are a lot of abandoned buildings on that street. It could be all of those reasons, or it could be just one of those reasons for me to say that street doesn't look safe. That street's pretty sketchy. I could say, let's take another street. This one looks sketchy. So I can also use the verb look sketchy, but I have to conjugate it. This street looks sketchy. Or let's say your friend or your husband or your wife came to you and said, hey, I heard this amazing business proposal today. All we need to do is invest $1,000 and we're guaranteed $100,000. And you could say, that sounds sketchy. So notice here the verb is to sound sketchy. And you're saying the idea, the plan, the business proposal doesn't sound completely safe. We also use this to describe people. He's a sketchy guy, or he's sketchy, she's sketchy. In this case, you're saying the person isn't safe, which means you can't trust the person. So with people, it's a way of saying, I don't think I can trust him. She's sketchy, he's sketchy.
Seems a little sketchy.
You're kind of sketchy.
Laundry to some sketchy laundromat?
Let's try another listening exercise. I'll say it 3 times. You must have seen it. You must have seen it. You must have seen it. Did you get this one? You must have seen it. But notice, I didn't actually say have. I reduced that entirely to just You musta. You musta. I could also reduce it to more of an of sound, which is very commonly done by native speakers. You must have. You must have. You must have seen it. Notice for seen it, I use that that N sound to connect the 2 words together. Seen it. Seen it. Seen it. So you hear a N in front of it. It sounds like knit. But if you say those 2 words together, it blends together. Seen it. Seen it. You must have seen it. Now let's talk about the grammar of this. Must is a modal verb, and grammatically you need must plus base verb, which is the verb without to. So grammatically, you need must have. In written English, you must use must have seen it, because that's grammatically correct. But in spoken English, it will sound like must a or must of. But in written English, if you wrote you must a or of, it would be incorrect grammatically. So just remember what I'm explaining is for spoken English.
You must have seen it 200 times.
You must have seen it too, Clark.
You must have seen them here.
Let's try this one more time. I'll say it 3 times. What's the ETA? What's the ETA? What's the ETA? I said, what's the ETA? Of course, we have what's. That's a contraction of what is. What's the. Now, because ETA, it begins with a vowel sound, E, I could say either the or the, because we do a more stressed the when the next word starts in a vowel, but this isn't a rule that native speakers follow all the time. But if I did a more stressed E in the, it would really blend together with ETA, the TA, and it would almost sound like it's just one word, the TA, because I wouldn't really repeat the E on ETA, the TA. I believe in my example when I did the listening test, I think the first time I did it more of the ETA, and the second time I did it more of the ETA, and the sounds blended together. Let's listen to that again and see what I did. What's the ETA? What's the ETA? What's the ETA? Now, ultimately, either way that you pronounce it, the ETA or the ETA, is fine. Now, you're probably wondering, well, what's ETA? This stands for estimated time of arrival. So your ETA, the ETA, or someone, something's ETA is the estimated time of arrival for that someone or something, when it's expected to arrive. So let's say we're talking about a project and your boss wants to know when this project will arrive in his inbox or on his desk. He could say, what's the ETA? And he could just say the if it's obvious you're talking about the project. He could say, what's your ETA? Because you're the one submitting the project. Or he could say, what's the project's ETA? So the ETA belongs to the project, so you need that possessive. What's the project's ETA? And they all have the same meaning. We commonly use this with friends or coworkers, family members, to let them know when we're going to arrive. So let's say you were supposed to be at your family's house at 7 o'clock for dinner, but you're running late. You could send them a text message and say, running late. Google says my ETA is 6:42 or 15 minutes. Now, Google says, because when you put something in a GPS, Google will tell you, or whatever you use, Google will tell you when you're expected to arrive. That's your ETA.
What's their ETA?
Okay, ETA?
ETA, 11 minutes.
Now let's do an imitation exercise so you can practice your pronunciation as well. So I'm going to say each sentence again, and then I want you to repeat the sentence out loud and try to imitate my pronunciation as closely as possible. And I'll say each sentence 3 times. Let's do that right now. They've been bickering all day. They've been bickering all day. They've been bickering all day. That street's pretty sketchy. That street's pretty sketchy. That street's pretty sketchy. You must have seen it. You must have seen it. You must have seen it. What's the ETA? What's the ETA? What's the ETA? Now let's test your vocabulary. Question 1. Do you think the discount will the client? Which option? A or B? I'll give you 3 seconds. Appease the client. Appease is a verb. We use this when you want to give someone something they want in order to make them happy or in order to prevent further disagreement. So I'm giving them a discount to make them happy. It will appease them. Now, if you said B, appeal, keep in mind that appeal has a very similar meaning. It means to be attractive to, but grammatically, the sentence is incorrect because if you use appeal, it's appeal to the client. And because I don't have the preposition to, B is an incorrect option grammatically. Question 2. She's a very employee. Option 1, option 2. The correct answer is A, diligent. She's a very diligent employee. To be diligent, this means to be careful or using a lot of effort and attention to detail. For example, I worked diligently on the report all week. So notice in this case, it's an adverb, diligently. I worked diligently on the report all week. Question 3. Sorry, I can't help. I'm at math. A or B? B, inept. I'm inept at math. To be inept at something, this means to not be skilled or to be ineffective at something. I'm inept at math. Number 4, she's the most member of our team. A or B? A, gregarious. B is incorrect grammatically. We can't say most great. You would say greatest, right? So grammatically, B doesn't work. A, gregarious. To be gregarious, when someone is described as gregarious, it means that they're very social. They enjoy being around other people. So what about you? Let us know in the comments. Would you describe yourself as a gregarious person? Do you enjoy being around other people? Are you very social? Let us know in the comments so you can practice that word. Number 5, we need to with the accounting department. A or B? The answer is B, follow up with. Grammatically, A is incorrect. You don't follow out with someone. You follow up with someone. And this means that you continue a discussion or conversation that was previously started. I could say, I already followed up with the accounting department. I already continued the conversation we had previously started. Number 6. That's a difficult concept to A or B? B, to grasp. When you grasp something, it simply means that you understand it. So it's the same as saying that's a difficult concept to understand. That's a difficult concept to grasp. Number 7, you should all your debt to reduce your interest rate. A or B? B, consolidate. Consolidate. When you consolidate 2 or more things, it means you combine them together. So if I said the 2 firms consolidated last year, this means that last year there was firm A, firm B, but now because they consolidated, there's 1 firm. So the 2 become 1. Consolidate. Number 8, the book discusses his illness and resignation from politics. A or B? A, subsequent, his subsequent resignation from politics. This has a simple meaning. Subsequent just means something that comes after something else. So first he had his illness, and after he resigned, his subsequent resignation, his resignation that came after his illness. We commonly use this as an adverb to start a sentence. So I could say, he moved to Australia. Subsequently, he got married. And I'm using subsequently to let you know that he got married after something else. And that something else is after he moved to Australia. He moved to Australia, subsequently, he got married. Number 9. He gets stressed out when he's A or B? The correct answer has to be B, under pressure, because over pressure is the wrong preposition. The preposition you need is under pressure, to be under pressure. And that's simply when you have a lot of work and you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling anxious, you're feeling stressed out. You can use this positively and say, I work really well under pressure. So when I have a lot of work, I actually perform better, not worse. I work really well under pressure. Number 10, women face a lot of in the workplace. A or B? Well, ostrich is a bird, so women don't face a lot of ostriches in the workplace. They face a lot of obstacles. An obstacle is something that blocks you, and it can be something physical like a roadblock, or it can be something non-physical like discrimination. So it's something that blocks you from making progress. That's an obstacle. Number 11, thank you for your remark. A or B? The answer is B, pertinent. Pertinent remark. When something is pertinent, it means it's relevant to the topic or discussion at hand. So let's say you're having a conversation and then someone raises a point and you think the point is very relevant to the topic or conversation, you can say, that's pertinent. That's pertinent. That's relevant, related to our topic at hand. Number 12, you can that to the interns. A or B? B, delegate. You can delegate that to the interns. When you delegate something is when you give someone else responsibility for a task or a specific job. So when you're doing a task that you really don't want to be doing, you can say, I wish I had someone to delegate this to. I wish I had someone who I could give this task to. Number 13, I have a really workload this month. A or B? A, heavy. B is a direct translation. It's not something that we use in natural English. It sounds awkward and unnatural. A, heavy, is the adjective that we use to describe our workload. When your workload is heavy, it simply means you have a lot of work to do. And what's the opposite of heavy? The opposite is light, right? Light. So when you don't have a lot of work to do, you would say, I have a light workload. Heavy workload, light workload. So what about you? How would you describe your workload right now? Would you say it's heavy or light? Let us know in the comments so you practice this new expression. Number 14, the police have been unable to what caused the explosion? A or B? B, ascertain, ascertain. When you ascertain something, you discover something. So to ascertain the cause of the explosion is to discover the cause of the explosion, to understand why. So when the police do understand why, they discover it, they can say, we've finally ascertained what caused the explosion. It was a faulty gas line. And then they can tell you the cause of the explosion. And finally, your last question in the quiz, number 15. You've been all week. Just do it already. A or B? The answer is B, procrastinating. You've been procrastinating all week. When you procrastinate, it means that you delay doing something, but that something has to be done, and you delay doing it. And why? Well, generally because it's unpleasant, like chores around the house, cleaning the garage, cleaning the bathroom, doing the dishes, it's unpleasant. Or it's simply boring, like organizing your closet or filing your paperwork. So you delay doing it, but it has to be done. That's procrastinating. Now let's test your knowledge of phrasal verbs. Question 1, you're not going to paying $500 for that. Now, I'll only give you 3 seconds to answer each question, so hit pause, take as much time as you need, and when you're ready, hit play to see the answer. You're not going to talk me into. Question 2, Mariah, the sales proposal yesterday. Mariah drew up. Question 3, good news, because everyone, we met the deadline. Because everyone stepped it up. Question 4, if you keep skipping breaks, you're going to burn out. Question 5, that's a great point. You should, at the meeting. You should bring it up. Question 6, who do you the most in your family? Who do you look up to? Question 7, how long do we need to at the party? How long do we need to stick around? Question 8, your tires look really, you should get new ones. Your tires look really worn out. Question 9, the seller tried to, so we didn't buy it. The seller tried to rip us off. Question 10, I noticed that this report, our production costs. This report honed in on. How did you do with the quiz? Was it easy or difficult? Share your score in the comments, and don't worry if it was hard, because now I'll explain every phrasal verb in detail. Number 1, to rip off. We use this when someone is selling something or buying something and the buyer feels that the price is too high compared to the value of whatever they're buying. For example, I can't believe I paid $200 for that. She ripped me off. Now notice the sentence structure. You rip someone off. She ripped me off. Another example, she told everyone that I ripped her off, but it was a fair price. So just because someone claims you ripped them off, it doesn't necessarily mean it's true. Number 2, to wear out. We use this when something is damaged or weakened because of age, it's old, or because of use. You've used it a lot. For example, I wore out my tennis shoes last summer. If someone said that to me, I would assume they played a lot of tennis last summer. They played so much tennis that they wore out their shoes. They became damaged from use, from continually playing tennis. We also use this in an adjective form, to be worn out. So it would be very common to say, I need to buy new tennis shoes because mine are worn out. So of course are, because shoes is plural and we need the plural form of the verb to be. Mine, my tennis shoes are worn out. So both forms are very common. Number 3, to draw up. We use this when you need to prepare paperwork, and generally that paperwork is for a contract, an agreement, a proposal, generally something that 2 people need to sign or agree on to make it official. For example, I asked my lawyer to draw up the papers. Whenever you're dealing with a lawyer, the papers are going to be official. So this is a perfect time to use to draw up. Or you could say, we're waiting for our bank to draw up the mortgage agreement. So that's another very official document that you need to sign, and you can use the phrasal verb to draw up. Number 4, to burn out. This is a phrasal verb that has gotten a lot of attention recently, especially with the pandemic, because to burn out, this is when you feel exhausted mentally or physically from prolonged stress. Stress of work, stress of a situation like a pandemic, stress of a family situation like a divorce or an illness, something like that, but a prolonged period. You can be stressed out for a day, but when you burn out, it means you've had that stress for a long period of time, several weeks, several months, or even several years. For example, I burned out at my last job. So perhaps I was working so much that I went through this period of prolonged stress. I burned out. Another example, I burned out after caring for my aging parents. So caregivers often experience burnout, so you can use this in a work situation or you can use it in a personal situation as well. Number 5, to look up to someone. So notice we have 2 prepositions, look up to and then someone. We use this when you admire someone or you respect someone. So I could say, I looked up to him like a father. So of course I admire and respect my father, and I'm comparing the situation to someone else. I looked up to him, I admired him like a father. Another example, I really look up to my boss. So you admire your boss, or you respect your boss, you hold your boss in high regard. So you can use this in a work situation, you can look up to people, and you can use this in a social situation, a family situation. You can have many different people in your life that you look up to for different reasons. Number 6, to step up. Now that's the phrasal verb, but we most commonly use it in the expression to step it up. Notice that it's very important to step it up, to step it up. This simply means to work harder or to try harder. Now, you can say we need to step it up if we're going to meet the deadline. So you have this deadline, you need to work harder. So it's the same as saying we need to work harder if we're going to meet the deadline. Step it up. Now, what is this it in the expression? Well, the it would represent work or effort. We need to step up our work. We need to step up our effort. Step it up. I encourage you to use it that way, step it up, because you'll sound like a native speaker. We have a really common expression with this, step it up, and then you add the two words, a notch. Step it up a notch. If you look at a dial, a notch is one move on the dial. So it represents a little bit, a small amount. Step it up a notch. It's just like saying step it up a little bit. So that's just a common expression. You need to step it up a notch if you want to meet the deadline. So you can use it with a notch, it's very common, or you can use it without. Number 7, to hone in on. This is another two preposition phrasal verb. We have hone in on. Hone in on something, and this means to really focus on something, to put all your attention on something specific. For example, if we want to get more customers, we should really hone in on small business owners. So maybe right now you're not being very specific and you're looking at all customers, but you want to hone in on one specific segment of the population, small business owners. So you're going to focus on them. You're going to hone in on them. Another example, for the presentation, we should really hone in on South America. So maybe you're a global company and you have branches all over the world, but for this specific presentation, you're going to hone in on one specific part of the world, South America. Now, many native speakers, not students, many native speakers mistakenly say home in on. We need to home in on. And that's because in pronunciation, they're very similar. Hone in, home in. And hone, what's that? It's not really used very much, but everybody knows the word home. But this isn't correct. The expression is not home in on. The expression is hone in on. So make sure you get that both in pronunciation, hone, and in spelling as well. And if you hear a native speaker say home in on, they're incorrect. Number 8, this is a must-know phrasal verb, to bring up. And this is when you begin a discussion on a specific topic. For example, if you're in a staff meeting, it would be very common for the boss or whoever's leading the meeting to say, before we end the meeting, does anyone have anything to bring up? Does anyone have a specific topic they want to discuss? Does anyone have anything to bring up? Or after the meeting, you might tell another colleague, I didn't have a chance to bring up the marketing proposal. So you didn't have a chance to discuss this specific topic, the marketing proposal. Maybe you ran out of time. Number 9, to talk into. And the sentence structure is to talk someone into something. And this means to convince someone to do something. For example, she talked me into helping her move. She convinced me to help her move. So when someone uses this, oh, she talked me into helping her move, it gives you the impression that the person didn't really want to do the activity, but somebody convinced them. But please, I really need your help. I'll buy pizza. Or maybe you could say, my team talked me into bringing up the bonus at the staff meeting. So notice I use bring up, discuss a specific topic, the bonus. My team talked me into bringing up the bonus. Now, because maybe discussing the bonus is a little bit of a sensitive issue and nobody wants to do it, but your team convinced you, lucky you, so they talked you into it. And number 10, to stick around. This is a must-use phrasal verb. You can use it in a social setting or a professional setting. To stick around means to stay in a location for a period of time. So let's say you're at this beautiful park with a friend, and after an hour or so, your friend has to leave, and they say, do you want to share an Uber? And you say, no, I'm going to stick around a little bit longer. So you're going to stay in a specific location, the park, for a period of time. It's unknown how long you'll stay. That doesn't really matter. It's just the fact you're going to stay. I'm going to stick around a little bit longer. It's such a beautiful day. I'm going to stick around. Now you can also use this in the negative. I can't stick around very long because I have a meeting. Although it's a beautiful day, I can't stick around very long. I have a meeting to get back to. Now that you're more comfortable with these phrasal verbs, let's do that same quiz again. So here are the questions. You need to choose which phrasal verb best completes the sentence. Here are the questions. Hit pause now, complete the quiz, and whenever you're ready, hit play, and I'll share the answers. So go ahead and hit pause now. Welcome back. So how did you do on this quiz? Let's find out. Here are the answers. So hit pause, review the answers, and whenever you're ready, hit play and come back to the video. Now let's test your pronunciation. Can you pronounce these 12 confusing word pairs? Here's our first word pair. I want you to say these two words out loud. Now listen to me and notice the difference. Lack, luck. Notice the difference in my mouth position. Lack, ack, luck, uck. Notice with lack, we have a longer sound, a more open mouth position. And luck, my mouth is closed because this is more of a schwa sound in my throat. She doesn't lack luck in her life. Our next confusing word pair, say these two words out loud. Now listen to me. Dawn, down. They're very similar because they both have open mouth positions. On, dawn, own, down. Let's meet down by the water at dawn. I hear mistakes with this word pair all the time. Say it out loud. Cup, cop. Which one is the shorter sound? Cup, up, cop, op. My mouth opens wider for cop. I gave the cop a cup of water. Our next word pair, I want you to say this out loud. Now listen to me. Advise, advice, eyes, ice. Notice the difference in that z, s sound. Advise, advice. I advise you to seek advice. I bet you're going to make mistakes with this word pair. Try it out loud. Suit, sut. Notice the spelling does not match the pronunciation. Suit, oot, oot, suit. Sut, ut, It's that schwa sound, sut. Now what is sut? It's the ash from a burnt fire. So I could say, I have sut on my suit. Spanish speakers, pay close attention. Say it out loud. This, these. Notice again, ease. We have a short sound and a long sound. This, these, ease. I don't want this shirt, but I want these shoes. We have our singular and plural. Try it out loud. Man, men, man, men. So we have a long sound on the singular and a short sound on the plural. I hired 1 man and fired 2 men. Now let's see if you can get this word pair, singular and plural. Try it out loud. The difference is at the beginning of the sound. Woman, women, wo, wi, woman, women. I hired 1 woman and fired 2 women. Eastern European students, this one's for you. Try it out loud. Say, says. My vowel changes in the third person singular. Say, a, but says, as. We have a longer sound and a shorter sound. I won't say what she always says. Here we have 2 abbreviations that we use with women. Try it out loud. Miss, Ms. So here it's the s, z, the unvoiced and the voiced sound. I helped Miss Smith and Ms. Brown. Now generally we use Miss for younger women and we use Ms for older but unmarried women. All students, pay attention to this one. Try it out loud. Work, walk. Ignore the spelling. It's not an O sound. It's a were, work, walk, awk. I walk to work. Can you get this word pair? Say it out loud. Daughter, laughter. So notice in the first one, otter, daughter. But in the second one, laughter, laughter. My daughter is filled with laughter. How about this tricky word pair? Say it out loud. Tomb, bomb. So there's 2 things to notice. The B's are silent in both. You don't pronounce it, but the vowel is different. Tomb, bomb. They found a bomb in the tomb. And finally, try it out loud. Ensure, ensure. This one is about syllable stress. Ensure, the syllable is on the second sound. Ensure, it's louder. Ensure. But the second one, ensure. The stress is on the first syllable. We need to insure. We insure the car. Now let's do something fun. You'll test your knowledge of American culture. Question 1, what would an American English speaker call this? Do you know? Any ideas? We call it a Band-Aid. So if I'm at your house and I cut my finger, I would ask you, do you have any Band-Aids? Now this is a bandage, but American speakers always call it a Band-Aid because that's the brand name. The most common bandages are by the brand Band-Aid, so we just call it a Band-Aid. Question 2, a related question. And make sure you're keeping track of your score and you can share your score at the end. Question 2, related question. What is a Band-Aid fix? Speaking of Band-Aids, what is a Band-Aid fix? Any ideas? A Band-Aid fix is a temporary solution to a problem. This is an idiom in English that uses the word Band-Aid.
Tried putting Band-Aids on it, but
I could say filling the potholes is a Band-Aid fix. The entire road needs to be repaved, which would be the permanent solution, and filling the potholes is the temporary solution, and that's why it's a Band-Aid fix. And I hope my videos help you permanently improve your English so they're not a Band-Aid fix. So put no Band-Aids, put no Band-Aids in the comments.
But it's just a Band-Aid fix.
Question 3, what would an American English speaker call this? Do you know? Any ideas? I would call it a Kleenex. Kleenex. For example, can you pass me a Kleenex? Now these are tissues, but again, the brand name is Kleenex, which is why Americans just call it Kleenex.
I need a Kleenex.
And keep in mind, we do this even if we don't use the brand Kleenex or the brand Band-Aid, we still just call it the brand names. Native speakers don't use brand names for many things, but Band-Aid, Kleenex, also Q-tips, which are technically cotton swabs. I've never called it a cotton swab, always Q-tip. Also chapstick, which is technically lip balm, but the brand is chapstick. And Tupperware, which is the brand, and it is plastic storage containers. The brand is Tupperware. So these are the main ones where Native American English speakers just use the brand name. Question 4, this is a fun one. I'm an American at a baseball game. What am I most likely eating? What am I most likely eating? What do you think? Put it in the comments. I'm eating a hot dog. That's right. Baseball and hot dogs are synonymous. Now there are other options, but I'm most likely eating a hot dog. And if you asked this question to 10 Americans, I'm pretty sure all 10 would choose hot dog. But other common food items maybe you said are peanuts, popcorn, pretzels, or nachos. But again, most likely I'm eating a hot dog. Question 5, another fun question. What does the tooth fairy do? American traditions. What does the tooth fairy do? Any ideas? The tooth fairy takes your tooth from under your pillow and leaves you money in return. This is, of course, for little kids when they lose their baby teeth. They take that tooth, they put it under their pillow, and they're so excited because when they wake up in the morning, the tooth fairy has left them money. And of course, the mom and dad are tooth fairy, but the little kids, they believe in tooth fairies until, of course, they grow up and realize it was their mom and dad leaving them money. Does that tradition exist in your culture, or does that sound super weird to you? The idea of putting your tooth that fell out of your mouth under your pillow and then waking up in the morning and getting money. Does that sound weird? Because traditions can definitely sound weird if they're not part of your culture. But of course, to me, that sounds totally normal, and it was a part of my childhood. So what's your score so far? Let's move on. Question 6. If I ask you to complete a task, what two words should you use to accept that task? Any ideas? Let me give you a hint. Will you do me a favor and subscribe to my channel, like this video, and share it with your friends? And to accept this task, 2 words. What can you say? Will do. Will do. Will do, Jennifer. Will do ASAP, as soon as possible. You can do it right now. Just click subscribe and like. Or if you want to sound super American and very confident, you can reply back with 1 word and say done. Done. Because you're expressing it as if you have already done it. So you're putting it in the past tense to show how confident you are that you accept and will do this task. But remember those 2 words, will do. Question 7. If I'm starting to get angry because I'm hungry, I'm hangry. You knew this one, right? I've taught this to my students in many different videos and shorts as well. I'm hangry, which is a combination of hungry and angry.
Someone's hangry.
I'm not hangry, Tito.
Question 8, another culture and traditions question. What do Americans most commonly eat on Thanksgiving? Do you know? Of course, it's turkey. Turkey is synonymous with Thanksgiving. In fact, a lot of people call it Turkey Day. If you Google Turkey Day, it will tell you the date of Thanksgiving. Question 9, what does let's Uber it? Let's Uber it. What does let's Uber it mean? Any ideas? This means let's take an Uber. So notice how I'm turning Uber, which is a noun. If you're not sure, Uber is an alternative to a taxi. I'm taking Uber, the noun, and I'm using it as a verb. Native speakers love using nouns as verbs. So instead of saying, I sent you an email, a native speaker will say, I emailed you. So using email as the verb. I'll call you on WhatsApp later. WhatsApp is the noun. I'll WhatsApp you. Using WhatsApp as a verb. Native speakers, we love doing this. But we only do it in specific situations with specific nouns. So for now, just use the 3 I taught you. And finally, question 10, how are you doing with this test? Question 10, if I answer, it's going great. What question was I asked? It's going great. What's the question? The question is, how's it going? How's it going? Great. Going great? It's going great. Those are the 3 different ways you could answer. And of course, instead of great, you can choose whatever adjective you'd like. So what's your current English level? Share it in the comments below. And if you want me to keep making these lessons, put let's go, put let's go in the comments. And of course, make sure you like this lesson, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you're notified every time I post a new lesson. And you can get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. You can click here to download it or look for the link in the description. And you can keep improving your English level with this lesson right now.